Rick here again. Hello. So as promised, I'm going to do a quick rundown of my pedal board and the amps that I use and have used with Orbital Junction for pretty much the entire time we've been going. Okay, so first up, I've actually redone this pedal board recently, and there's a few additions that I have been playing through, making demos on, what have you, that didn't get used on the records, but anyway, we'll go through. Okay, so from the far right, so we've got, this is actually a clone of a Matamp GT150 preamp from a company called Fuzzdog. As you can see, I forgot to measure the knobs so they don't fit on. Unsure about that at the moment. It's fairly complicated in terms of the pedal build. You have to bias the FET, the transistors, and they're inside the case, which is a bit of a pain to get to. So unsure whether or not that'll make it onto the board. So then the signal flow goes, which way have I got it connected? Anyway, we'll start from the top and we'll work our way across. So first pedal in the chain, I think, the most important pedal anyone could ever have, regardless of what style music you play, is a tuner. They're not very expensive and they are the most important pedal you could ever have. So the tuner is absolutely essential. Then we have the Boss Super Octave. This gets used sparingly. I find it's got quite a specific kind of sound, and it can colour your tone quite a bit, so I prefer to use it quite sparingly. It gets used on a song called Addict. Then we have the Emanating Fist Electronics Dope Priest. I love this pedal, absolutely love this pedal. Got used all over Creep. In fact, it's the main kind of fuzz on that. The only thing that frustrates me slightly is the size of it. It's bloody massive. This is a double size pedal. Typical single pedal is the MXR size, and you can see the size difference is about 4 times as big. But that aside, absolutely love it. The output is pretty low. It's not the most gainy fuzz pedal in the world, but I really like that. The Carbon Copy and the TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2 are in the effects loop. Carbon Copy is a lovely analog style delay. Can't recommend it enough. And then the Hall of Fame 2 is just a decent reverb pedal. I tend to use it on the tend to use it on the plate setting, but I've just been messing around with the spring reverb. Then we go down to the bottom rung. Then this is now discontinued. It's an Quaker Devices Tone Reaper, based off a 3-knob tone bender. So quite a raw sounding bender style fuzz, which is fantastic. Then the Bose. This is a germanium treble or full range booster. You've got the option there for treble and full range. Cuts for everything, and it's germanium based, so it's got a nice sort of vintagey vibe to it. Then we move to the Way Huge Russian Pickle. Way Huge Russian Pickle. This is green Russian style fuzz. Pretty basic. Quite a lot of low end. Don't really use it all that much, but paired with some other fuzzes and the boost, you can get some nice tones out of it. Then we go into the Phase 90, one of my favourite pedals in terms of modulation. Very, very simple, and it's got the little rubbery thing on the knob so you can adjust it with your foot whilst you're on stage. Then last pedal in the chain, apart from the loop, is the Black Arts Toneworks Ferro Fuzz. This is probably my favourite fuzz pedal of all time. Super versatile. Usually use it on the silicon setting or the germanium clip, and those are probably the settings that I use most often. Fantastic pedal, absolutely love it. And then this guy here is just a latching foot switch for the amps. So onto the amps. So what we have here, this green beast, is a custom built Matamp GTL2 probably the best sounding amp I've ever heard in my entire life. Probably say that I'm biased because I own it, but it really is the best amp I've ever heard, played, used in my entire life. About 80 watt clean apparently, but at the factory is running about 200 watts flat out, so an absolute beast. And you'll see the master is very, very low because I'm using it at home, hence the pillows in front of the cab. This is probably the loudest I can have it without upsetting the neighbours and getting evicted. Then above it, oh yeah, it was custom made, commissioned for a guy called Dan Payne, and I bought it off Dan. So thanks Dan for specing this amp, it's an absolute beast. Then onto the Orange Rocker 30. This actually is on temporary loan to me from our bass player Billy. I used this on the upcoming album through a 4x10 bass cab, believe it or not, with everything cranked up. Really, really powerful, cuts through, and paired with a mat amp, it just sounded ungodly. So those are the two amps that got used most on the album. For home use, I'm just using the mat amp with pedals set clean. It does have a post master volume foot switchable boost, which is what the Marshall guy controls. But it's a fantastic amp, absolutely fantastic amp. It is loud, it's bloody loud. But when you get a chance to open it up, it sounds fantastic. And then for cabs, this is what I normally use for rehearsals. Just an orange open back 2x12 with two vintage 30s. And you'll see I've got an SM57 and an old C1000 draped over the front, just for recording demos. So pedals and the amps. Again, if you have any questions, do give me a shout. Yeah, thanks for watching.